So what's really going on in the housing market? Let's say North Idaho right now as we sit mid-January 2026. So it's been an interesting start to the year. I will tell you that our market up here has seen completely different weather than we normally see. Typically this time of the year we see sub-zero temperatures or a ton of snow. We're not seeing that. And usually that does have some play into the market. Additionally, about a week ago, maybe a little bit more, we saw rates drop below 6% for the first time in a long time, few years. What's that mean for our market? What am I seeing boots on the ground? So I just went to a showing on Saturday. I had showed a duplex here in Coeur d'Alene, and I had to go back and look at that again. So the seller was under contract. They had come back onto the market. They came on at an aggressive price, and they had 5 offers over the weekend. When I pulled back into the driveway to get some measurements of the rooms, I had to wait for someone that was finishing up a showing. Took me all of 3 minutes to pull measurements in 2 bedrooms and a garage. And while I was sitting in my car sending the measurements to my clients, someone else pulled up. There are still people out there looking at homes. That same day, actually the day prior to, I went to go look at a duplex in Coeur d'Alene that has been on the market for a while, and literally I was waiting for buyers to leave. And then another house that we looked at on Saturday, we put in an offer and we're up against another offer. That particular deal, we may be putting under contract. We're waiting on a counteroffer to come back. So the market is buzzing right now, for sure. We're definitely seeing a lot of interest. Buyers, in my opinion, and what I've been seeing, we've got local buyers and we've got out-of-state buyers. We still feel a little bit of a shortage on inventory, and I continue to see houses go pending. So what does that mean if you're a seller? Because I've been talking to a lot of sellers this year. It's January 20th today, and I've had at least 4 listing appointment conversations just in the last week and a half, that have asked me the same question: should I put my house on the market now? Should I wait till the spring? And it always goes back, I've said this time and time again, to, what's your motivation? However, right now, especially with the activity that we're seeing in the buyers, we're definitely a lot of our sellers are choosing to go on the market sooner than later. Now, what's that going to do for them? That's going to put them in a position where there's less competition. I just met with a seller earlier this week that has a community of about 300 homes. They're all just a little bit different than your traditional home. It's a home on leased land here in Rathdrum, and where we'll typically see 4 to 6 homes on average on the market at a time. We only have 1 home on the market right now and nothing pending over there. So we will be the one off, right? We're going to go on at a good price. It's a beautifully redone home. But I mean, even another one that I talked to, we're going to be going on the market in March 1st. We signed some listing paperwork late last week, and that guy had someone knocking on his door. They were looking at a house across the street and came over and knocked on his door. So almost 2 months, a month and a half before we go on market, we're already showing that house. So the buyers are out there. Sellers, in my opinion, still have that question of, should I list right now or should I wait till the spring? And with the activity that I've seen, with the inquiries that I've seen from sellers, I think it behooves you to go on the market right now, just because in the springtime, we're going to see a lot more competition. I don't know if interest rates are going to stay where they are. It'd be surprising to me if they drop down more. I don't think that they're going to jump up considerably. And there's lots of talk. I've heard quite a few people asking me about this 50-year mortgage. What's that going to do? I'm personally not a fan of the 50-year mortgage. I think that I did a video about the 50-year mortgage. But definitely, why did the rates drop is because the president announced he was going to purchase back a whole bunch of mortgage-backed securities. And that definitely drove the rates down. Now they popped back up. But what that did was that drove more eyeballs to the websites that are showing homes for sale. That put more people in the houses that are listed. In fact, I just put one under contract last week that the day it went on the market, a couple of hours after it went on the market, my clients were asking me to set up a showing for them. That quick. Because they've been in this market now for a couple months, looking. What they're looking for, there's limited inventory on. They've been up against multiple offer situations a few times in the last couple months. And so when that property hit the market, which is in a good location for them, the size of the property is right, there's some outbuildings that fit them, they jammed over there. They looked at it and they were like, hey, Brian, we want to write an offer. I mean, within an hour, they were calling me, putting final terms together for the purchase. I've had a couple of offers that we've put out there that have been turned down. One of them was an off-market opportunity that buyers were looking at for waterfront. For crying out loud, it's January. And I was able to walk waterfront. Well, I walked most of it. I fell through the steps in one of them. But my point is that last week, I'm getting ready to hop on my coaching call here. My business coach and I are going to discuss what my last week looked like. And I was flying with my hair on fire, showing. And a couple times in between there, catching time to do a listing appointment. And you know what else? This is very interesting too. The rental market has been very solid right now. I put a rental on the market, a 3-bed, 2-bath in Coeur d'Alene, under the $2,000 mark. It was actually listed for $1,750, and my inbox was flooded. I was getting 6 to 8 inquiries a day, phone calls, and so the rental market is hot too. All that to say, there is still demand to live here in Idaho. And there's a shortage of housing. Now, you'll see houses on the market, and the ones that are on the market for a long time, either there's something wrong with them or they're overpriced. It's a real simple math problem. It has nothing to do with no demand, because we are seeing demand. When the numbers come out in February for how January looked, I would be willing to bet that we see days on market going down, months of inventory going down. I'd be willing to bet we're getting darn near close, under 5, but probably a solid 4 on months of inventory. What's that mean for the spring? Boy, that's a great question. I've been telling people I think that we're going to have a boring spring and anything can happen. But with this much interest in housing around here, I do think that if sellers don't put their houses on the market, it's going to be a tough purchase for buyers this year, because they're going to be short on inventory. Anyways, so we're headed into 2026. We're almost at the end of January. Any things to see? If you guys have questions, hit me up. BK knows the way.